Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 16, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All glories to Srila. Chatur vidha bhajante mang jana sukritinor artho jignasu artharthi gyani cha bharatarshava. Please read the translation. So this series of lectures I'm going to be giving is on basic principles of pure devotional service. And I'm going to focus on this through Bhagavad Gita as it is. Now we know from the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the highest goal of life is to serve Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. And especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has directed us towards a love of Krishna following in the footsteps of the gopis. There are 2 seats free here if anyone would like to sit. Here, so you can take. Now, that is the goal of life. Most of us have a long way to go to reach there. Most of us are beginning on the path of devotion. So while knowing what the goal of life is, at the same time we have to make our basic foundation very, very solid and strong. Just like if we're building a house, the first thing is to make the foundation very strong. So I'm going to be speaking on these few days on these basic principles by which we can become strong in bhakti. Now, as Lord Krishna mentions in this verse, most people take up his devotional service with mixed motives. They come to Krishna not with the idea of pure devotion, but with some material purpose to fulfill. Give this lady a seat. Someone can give attention. Someone can give this lady a seat. So, Lord Krishna mentions here that many people who come to bhakti because they want some money or because they are distressed. So what should we do now? Now we'll have a change in the heat. You came to listen and I noticed. I noticed you, but
the translator has come.
Yeah. Is it okay, right if we change the guard?
Okay, he's welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Bhakta Valdus from Lithuania. Sorry. Excuse me. I almost got it. Now we see that most devotees in the present age, they have a lot of distress actually. That's actually one of the qualities of Kali Yuga that makes it good. It's both bad and good. Kali Yuga is very bad. That we have evidence of us all around at every moment. But one good thing about Kali Yuga is that it's so bad that people who are a little bit pious, then they get the inclination to turn towards Krishna. Kaling sabhajyantyarya gunagya sarabhagina yatra sankirtananaiva sarva swatho bhilabhyate. In the Bhagavatam it's mentioned that persons who are really know what the essence of religiosity is, then they worship Kali Yuga. Because in this age, by chanting the glories of Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. We find in the Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami gives a long list of all the bad qualities of Kali Yuga. So many bad things. And what we take to be normal nowadays, with those are the bad qualities of Kali Yuga. Governments will rule by cheating and skullduggery. You know what that means. That means it's a mixture of cheating and killing and all the bad things. This is the business of governments. Normal family life, home sweet home, is simply hell. People will take the dress of a saintly person just to get the respect that is accorded to it and use that to exploit others. So there's a big long list of all the bad qualities. And then kale doshanite rajanasti heko mahangana kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha parang. The one good quality in this ocean of bad qualities is that simply by chanting the names of Krishna, one can get free from all this and go to Krishna. So people who are very expert at understanding the essence, they can see this bad quality, this bad quality, this bad quality, this bad quality, there's so many bad qualities, and then, this good quality, chanting Hare Krishna. That by this process of Krishna Kirtan, whatever the other bad things may be, we can get such a wonderful thing, love of Krishna, very easily. And notwithstanding, the bad qualities of Kali Yuga are very apparent and very distressing. So here we are, on the one side we're chanting Hare Krishna, and on the other side the influence of Kali Yuga and the distress of material life is impacting us. And it is very severe. We find in the modern age, most people are somewhat psychologically disturbed. But at least those who have come to Krishna consciousness are very, very fortunate. So many times devotees come to me and tell me this problem, that problem, the other problems they're having. But we can consider whatever our problems may be, and often they are very bad, that we are in a much, much, much better position than those who have not come to Krishna consciousness. That whatever reactions we're getting for our sinful activities, the fact that we have taken to Krishna consciousness, that is our great, great hope. Now, in the purport to this verse, Prabhupada has quoted the definition, the famous definition of pure devotional service given by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Can we say that verse? Some of you know this verse. Anya bhila shita shunyam jnana kama dhyanavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttama. Thank you. I'm impressed that so many of you know it. That's good. So those of you who didn't learn it, you also please learn it. It's a very important verse which defines what we're doing here in this Krishna conscious movement. So you'll find that quoted in the purport to this verse, chapter 7, text 16 of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So please try to learn that verse, those of you who haven't done so. So this verse describes that the topmost level of devotion is that which is free from other desires. That means there should be one desire, the desire to serve Krishna. And other desires, they are unlimited. Rupa Goswami has put them, categorized them in two broad divisions, karma and jnana, which can be put in simple terms, that the desires for gross sense gratification and the desire for spiritual advancement sans surrender to Krishna. The idea of impersonal liberation. So this is the aim of every devotee who seriously takes to Krishna consciousness. Now in the beginning, remember that we're coming due to distress or desire for money or curiosity, or it may be also out of knowledge. The devotee, the one who comes out of knowledge of Krishna's greatness, is quite rare. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavang mang prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. One who takes to Krishna consciousness after many births of investigating the spiritual path and finally concludes, yes, Krishna, he is all in all. Such a great soul is very rare. More people come because they want money or because they're very distressed. This seems to be the most common. And that is often mixed with maybe some intellectual curiosity or spiritual curiosity. What is this Krishna conscious all about? So in the beginning, one who comes to Krishna conscious with some material motive, they're not even thinking about becoming a pure devotee. They're thinking, what can I get from Krishna? Krishna, you should help me. Krishna is very kind. He sees someone is coming to me, even not with a very proper motive. Nevertheless, all right, they're coming to me. Let me try to facilitate them. Krishna has his tricks also. How to pull us into his pure devotional service. Now, we may come to Krishna with some personal desire. Krishna, I'm suffering. Please remove my suffering. But the very nature of Krishna is that he's all attractive. So if we come in contact with devotees who can present us Krishna as he is, then we are likely to become attracted to pure devotional service. However, if we are going to become pure devotees, we have to understand what pure devotional service is and how it is distinguished from mixed devotional service. Mixed devotional service means that which is not anyabhilashita shunyam, that is anyabhilashita yukta. It means it's mixed up with other desires. So this devotional service which is mixed up with other kinds of desires, that is not very satisfying to Krishna. And it's also not very satisfying to us. So we should focus very clearly, understand very clearly what is pure devotional service and make that the goal of our lives. Pure devotional service simply means to act in a manner for Krishna's satisfaction only. Not for my satisfaction, but for Krishna's satisfaction. And this is the amazing thing of Krishna consciousness, that if we act for his satisfaction, then we ourselves will be satisfied. And if we try to act for our own satisfaction, we'll never be satisfied. Now, in the beginning of our devotional lives, basically, we don't know very much about what Krishna consciousness is at all. And we tend to think of happiness in terms of what we conceive it to be in our materialistic way of thinking. Just like we may see devotees, they're singing and dancing, and we think, oh, that's very nice. We don't have any understanding of how the devotees are experiencing the spiritual pleasure of chanting and dancing for Krishna's pleasure. But it seems very nice. Devotees are singing and dancing, and yes, they look happy. I'd also like to be happy like that. So in the beginning we come distressed, and we see devotees are not distressed. And we think, I would like to be like that. One who is pious, sukritinaha, when they see devotees, they are attracted to be like that. And it's a fact that if one takes to devotional service, he becomes free from distress. That is the very first effect of practicing pure devotional service. Even in the beginning, if our devotional service is not pure, but if we practice in that line, then immediately we become free from material distresses. That also Rupa Goswami analyzes in his Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Klesha Agni, the first symptom of pure devotional service is it removes all material distresses. So it may be that the devotee, when someone takes to Krishna consciousness, their material situation may change or it may not. But by contact with devotees and understanding of Bhagavad Gita, a devotee becomes equipped to cope with all kinds of difficult situations. So very soon, practically immediately after taking the devotional service, one becomes to a large extent free from material distresses. Now, what may happen is that in the beginning one is practicing very seriously and feeling, oh, I'm getting so much effect from this. This Krishna consciousness is wonderful. Krishna is being so kind to me. I'm getting free from material distress. But we should understand that getting free from material distress, that is not the be-all and end-all of Krishna consciousness. That is not the goal of Krishna consciousness. That we have to go beyond that to develop pure love of Krishna. So that requires application to sadhana and service over an extended period of time. Sometimes devotees ask, well, why does it take so long to become Krishna conscious? I've been chanting Hare Krishna for 7 years and still I don't dream of the gopis at night. That's probably because we're dreaming of a different kind of gopi in the day. Anyway, that impatience that may be there. But we should understand that we are very, very fortunate to take to Krishna consciousness. Just see what austerities Dhruva Maharaj went through, for instance. We're not asked to do any such difficult process. Or we see how different yogis, Markandeya Rishi, over actually many thousands of millions of years was performing sadhana. So actually, this process of Krishna consciousness, we should have full faith that this works. As Srila Prabhupada wrote in one purport in the songbook, do not think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired result. Prabhupada said, it will. And actually many times Prabhupada said that if we simply chant minimum 16 rounds a day and follow these 4 regulated principles, we can go back to Godhead in this very life. Prabhupada said this once. He was in addressing a room full of devotees like this. And he said, if you simply chant 16 rounds every day, follow the 4 regulated principles, you will go back to Godhead in this life. I guarantee it. And Prabhupada repeated it. I guarantee it. So, thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada, for your mercy upon us. Of course, we have to accept the mercy. Just like if someone's prepared to give us, here, you take, I'm giving you $1 million, 1 bag full of money. We also have to put out our arms to take it. If we stay like this, then how will they give it? We have to take it. So we have to be always endeavoring to accept that mercy. Now this may sound very esoteric, but actually in terms of our day-to-day lives, it's very straightforward. That we simply have to continue the process of Krishna consciousness as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Now what happens often is that devotees are coming to Krishna consciousness because some motive is that I need to get free from distress or whatever it may be. I'm curious, I'm looking for something spiritual. And then take to Krishna consciousness seriously. But after some time, the intensity of their practice decreases. Now there may be various reasons for this. One reason may be, one very common reason is the pressure of day-to-day life. Just getting enough money to live for most people is, it occupies most of their time and energy. It's a great anomaly of modern society that, you're talking about progress and we have all these facilities, but at the same time, most people are just working hard just to get enough money to maintain their basic needs. So most people are preoccupied how to get enough money and like this. And working takes up so much of their time. And then apart from work, family matters and looking after the children and looking after the house and so many social affairs. And there are so many distractions. I was just hearing that how now in Russia the TV they're catching up with the West. It's becoming interesting. Very interestingly dragging us to hell.
To hell.
To hell. Hell. So, in this way there are many distractions to our spiritual life. We hear about devotees who, just like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he would just sit on the bank of the Ganga in Navadvipa and chant Hare Krishna. So that is an example of someone who's just their whole life, they have no other purpose in life than to chant the holy names, to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So that is our goal. Those who want to attain pure devotional service, that is the goal, to be always and everywhere absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. But it seems that everything in the environment is working against that for us. We may think, well, I'd like to be like that. I'd just like to sit on the bank of the Ganga in Navadvip and chant.
И повторять святое имя.
But we're not in any situation to do so. We have so many material responsibilities. And even if we were free from material responsibilities, we're not advanced enough to simply sit and chant. So we should rather look to the examples of the guru of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj and the disciple of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who both, like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, remained totally absorbed in Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. Bhaktivinoda Thakur while remaining in family life, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur while living as a monk. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had, we can say, a fully busy family life. 13 children and a lot of responsibilities. And he was moving. He was every 2 or 3 years, he was posted in a different place. But nevertheless, he produced such wonderful literature for the benefit of the world. And he showed how it is possible by living in householder life, one can at the same time, despite taking all responsibilities, be fully absorbed in Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he started the monasteries, Vaishnava monasteries. And he didn't even recommend that you try to live like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He recommended, if you're going to be a monk, you have to be a very serious monk. Actually, he demanded even a very high standard of surrender even from his householder disciples.
На самом деле он требовал даже от своих учеников-домохозяев следовать очень высоким стандартам.
This Brahmin initiation, he wouldn't give that unless they were practicing at a very high standard. Householders. So, as Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they showed how to live in Krishna consciousness in this world and be fully Krishna conscious. Now, we may think, well, they're on a very high level, so let them be like that and I'll be like I am on a very low level. But actually, the way they have lived their lives, they want us to follow their example. The Acharyas come to this world to show us how we can live in Krishna consciousness. Now, we can't artificially or immediately come to the platform of great empowered acharyas like that. But the point of their lives, what they showed us is that they focused fully on pure devotional service. This should remain our ideal. Now, what I'm saying might seem to be axiomatic. But actually what we find in many cases is that devotees who have come to the path of pure devotional service, they again mix it up with some material contamination. In the beginning, maybe very enthusiastic, then after some time they see, well, maybe I'm not going to be a pure devotee very quickly. Or it may be that having got relief from material distress, then they're no longer so serious to practice very seriously. So the tendency is to relax after some time. Neophytes in Krishna consciousness have a tendency to relax their efforts after some time. But Prabhupada said that we should overcome this tendency and go on in Krishna consciousness very seriously. Now, what I'm seeing many times is that devotees, they don't maintain their faith in pure devotional service. And this is often manifested by too much leaning towards materialistic ideas. Now, I can just give some example. Now, it's very common, for instance, that devotees become overly enamored by astrology. This is just one example. Now, astrology is a bona fide Vedic science. It may be very difficult to find a bona fide astrologer in the Vedic tradition, at least in Russia. I mean, a few people may have a little preliminary knowledge and it looks quite good to people who don't really know anything about it. But really, to understand it properly, one has to be trained over a period of several years. Anyway, we're not against it per se. It can be a useful aid for us in seeing how our life is going on. But sometimes devotees, they have an imbalanced understanding, that they tend to see everything in terms of astrological findings, and less to see things in terms of Krishna's direction. And instead of developing more and more faith in Krishna's words, that if we surrender to Him, He will take care of us, we tend to think of ourselves as beings controlled by our destiny. In other words, we start to take astrology more seriously than Bhagavad Gita. Whereas, actually, even if we never consult an astrologer, we can still become a completely pure devotee of Krishna. So this is just one example of how we may tend to get imbalanced. And a devotee may say, well, I'm going through such and such a period now, so that means I won't be very spiritual during this time. It becomes our excuse. Another thing that's become very popular is Vastu or Feng Shui. Vastu is a bona fide Vedic science, and Feng Shui appears to be a permutation of that. So, it's also a bona fide Vedic science. But is very, very insignificant compared to Krishna consciousness. Now, people who become overly enamored by this, they think that, well, I have to move all the windows in the house and all this kind of thing. The solution to all my problems is to block that window. But we should know that the real solution is to surrender to Krishna. And whether your window is here or whether it's there or whether it's wherever it is, we have to chant Hare Krishna and surrender to Krishna. So again, Vastu may be employed, but it's another example of something whereby our attention becomes diverted from understanding. Oh, there are so many examples. We tend to rationalize, in our minds, we tend to rationalize our deviations. Well, I need to watch TV, then I can be more like the normal people, then they can relate to me better, then I can preach to them better. But then we don't have anything to preach to them because we don't have anything better than them because we are one of them. So a devotee's aim of life is only Krishna, pure devotion to Krishna. We should keep this very, very strongly focused. Even for preaching, there may be different ways of trying to catch people's attention.
Yep.
Because most people, if we walk up to them and say that you should surrender to Krishna, giving up all karma and jnana, and they don't know what we're talking about. There was one devotee, this was must have been 1967, he saw the Rath Yatra, it must have been in San Francisco. So most people, they don't know very much about Krishna or anything about Krishna. So in preaching, we have to start somewhere at some level at which people can understand and relate to. But we should always know that our aim is to introduce them to Krishna and pure devotional service to Krishna.
No.
We may say, Krishna conscious, prasadam, vegetarian, very healthy, very tasty. People say, yes, I agree. So that's a beginning. But it's not that we are simply a vegetarian movement. We have much more to offer than vegetarianism for good health.
Здоровый образ жизни.
So this point I wanted to emphasize. Unfortunately, there isn't very much time. But just this one point that you can please take away with you from this festival. It's a basic point. My seminar is on basic points.
Элементарная вещь – это азы.
That our goal is to attain pure devotional service to Krishna, free from all other extraneous desires. So we should remain fully focused on that. not become diverted into so many different things that can take our attention away from pure devotional service. And we may even think that these other things, they are non-different from from pure devotional service. So actually the process of pure devotional service is very, very simple. Prabhupada used to say, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple. That if we are very simple in the sense that our only goal of life is to satisfy Krishna, then Krishna consciousness becomes very straightforward for us. But we often have this tendency to get diverted into other avenues. So this is my message or my request, that simply stick to Krishna consciousness as it is. There is no need of being diverted into any other avenue. There's no new process or any special fancy tricks. We already have the best thing. Prabhupada has given us the best thing. We all know the story of Sanatana Goswami and the touchstone. That the materialistic person thought, now I got the best thing, the philosopher's stone. But Sanatana Goswami said, no, that's just rubbish. Throw it away. This is the best thing, chanting Hare Krishna. So we should have faith that this is the best thing, to chant Hare Krishna and to follow the path of Krishna consciousness as Prabhupada has given it to us. Now, I think we all have the experience that when we read Prabhupada's books, that everything becomes clear, isn't it? You experience that? That Prabhupada himself was completely free of all doubts. Asangshayang samagrang mang yata gyasasi touch trinu. Just like Krishna told Arjuna in Gita, you hear from me how you can be free from all doubts. So reading Prabhupada's books means that all the doubts and all the wrong ideas, they all get cleared away. So with that conviction, we can go ahead in Krishna consciousness. Nowadays, there are many other books in circulation apart from those of Prabhupada, Krishna conscious books. And there will be many more, which is good. That means that apart from the fact that the Vaishnava literature is already a vast ocean, what the previous acharyas have given us, that's one point. And that devotees in the present generation are going on writing, that means that they're also inspired by Krishna Kirtan, to go on glorifying Krishna through the medium of writing. But at the same time, we should understand that the basic foundational books for us are the books of Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes devotees ask, well, shall we read this book or that book or the other book? Prabhupada himself wrote a letter about this. When a devotee wrote to him asking, can I read this book or that book or another book? Prabhupada wrote back and said, well, what about reading my books? I've given you so many books. Have you read them all? So there are many books coming out and we have a lot to read. If I were you, I wouldn't even try to read all the books that are coming out because it's so many. But most important is that we read Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada, he translated the most important books of our sampradaya. Namely, Bhagavad Gita, the Nectar of Devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So even to read all of those books, that takes quite some time, doesn't it? Who read all the books of Prabhupada that have been published in Russian? They didn't read this Chaitanya Charitamrita, has it?
Well, that's on the first volume.
Who read them all except the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Because that's new. Okay, that's...
No, the back also.
Okay, so now I'm going to give you one piece of very good advice. If you take this advice, you will all become very advanced. You want to hear what it is? Many times devotees say, how can we advance more quickly? Okay, it's very simple. Just read all of Prabhupada's books. And then when you've finished all of them, you start again. And that way you'll become more and more absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Because as Prabhupada said, everything we need to become fully Krishna conscious is in my books. Now again, it's not that we shouldn't read other books, because Prabhupada said that my disciples will write purports on my purport. But it's a fact that if we regularly read Prabhupada's books, then our focus, our understanding of Krishna consciousness remains very clear. Srila Prabhupada was empowered by Krishna to present Krishna to the world in the modern age. So we should stick very close to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. As one of my godbrothers noted recently, 1 centimeter away from Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, the madness begins. So we should stick very closely to what Prabhupada has given us, with full faith that he is the representative of Krishna. And that if we simply follow what he has given us, then he will take us to Krishna. And there's no need we don't need to modify what Prabhupada has given us. It's a ridiculous proposal, that now we have a different way of following. Prabhupada was quite good, but I know better. So Prabhupada took so much trouble to write these books. We should study them very carefully and follow them very carefully. Okay, I could speak a lot more, and you look like you're all very enthusiastic to listen. Thank you very much. But we are limited by the time factor, which is also Krishna. So, if anyone has any questions, they could ask them. And I'm going to be lecturing over the next few days on basic principles of understanding who is guru, who is disciple, realistic approaches to advancement in Krishna consciousness. Also, I must say my disciples have understood me very well.
You must say.
Yeah. It's because they've heard so many of my lectures and they know that my lectures are not very sweet. I usually give some bitter medicine, so they always provide some sweets at the end.